Hello everyone and welcome back. Let's learn about case statements in SQL. It's like if and else statements in other programming languages that allows us to apply some conditions or logical conditions while querying the data. Uh, as I said, it's like if and else statements in other programming languages used for conditional logics or statements. It allows us to evaluate conditions and return values based on these conditions. It's mainly used with selected statements. We can apply some conditions on our data, and based on these conditions we can drive some columns or data and represent that. So the syntax for a case statement is we have the case keyword and a set of or a number of when and then statements. It's like if and else statements in other programming languages. If this condition is true, then execute this line of code. If this condition is true, execute this line of code. And finally, we have an else block. Same case with the case statements. We have when and then statements. When this condition is true, then take this result, and we can have multiple of these statements. When condition 2 is true, then take result 2. And finally, we have an else statement. If none of these conditions are hit or true, we can take the default result. And finally, we end the case statements, and also we can give an alias or a name to the column or the data we generated based on the conditions using the case statements. So let's have some practice using this students table. So let me open the MySQL workbench. So let's create a new database. Create a database. Let's give it a name, case DB. Let me run it and refresh all. Our database is created. Let's use it. Use case DB. We don't have any table inside this database, so let's generate or create a table. I have already the code here, so let me copy this one, go here and let me paste it. So we have create table students. Table name is students with fields ID. ID is of type integer. It's an auto increment field, and also primary key. We have name. Name is of type varchar of length 50. It's not null. And also we have grade. Grade is also an integer column and also not null. So let me create this table, and let's see, show tables. We have only one table inside this database. So let's insert some values in this table. I have also the values here. Let me copy them. Copy, and let's paste it in workbench. Paste. So we have insert into students. We insert the name and grades. Since ID is auto generated or auto increment, we have only inserted some names and grades. Let's insert that. And now let's select some data from our table. Select ID, comma name, comma grade from students. So we have these 10 students with names and grades. So let's apply some logical conditions on these data. Say we want to categorize students by grades. Students with mark greater than or equal to 90, we want to give them an A grade. Students with, for example, a mark greater than or equal to 80, we want to give them a B grade, and so on. So as I said, case statement is used with select statement. So once we selected the set of data, we can apply some conditions or logical conditions on this data. Say we want to apply logical conditions on this grade field. So after grade, we can have our case statement, comma case. Then we can have our when and then statements. When we want to apply some condition on grade, when grade is greater than or equal to 90, let's say we then want to give the student an A grade. and when grade is greater than or equal to 80, then we want to give them a B grade. When grade is greater than or equal to 70, then we want to give them a C grade, and anything below the 70, we want to give them an F grade or fail. And finally, we are going to end the case, um, end, and let's run the code. Oh, so we have a weird column name with some data here. So let's give it an alias or a column name also using the ASCII keyword as um, category grade. Let's run it. So we have this newly generated column based on the conditions. We have a student with mark 95 having an A grade, 85 B grade, 72 C grade, 60 which is below 70, and F grade, 50 also F grade. So imagine another scenario. We want to check if a student passes or fails, and we can print the status of that student. Let's say students with marks greater than 70, they are all passed, and students with mark less than 70, they're all failed. So we are going to have our case statements. Case, let me delete all of these. Case when grade is greater than or equal to 70, let's have it as pass, else fail. As student result, let's give it a result name, column name, and let's run it. So here we have pass, 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 and this is students failed, failed, failed. Let's say we want to create a conditional view of data. For example, we want to print something alongside the name of the student. For example, for top student or topper students, let's print topper in front of the topper students. So we are going to conditionally select the name, and we apply some condition on grade column. We select the ID, and let's for the name, you want to select it conditionally. So let's have a case statement here, case space when grade is greater than or equal to 85. These are topper students. We then want to concatenate something with the name using the concat method. Concat name with, let's say, space. Say we want to print top performer, and then or else we just want to print the name. And finally, let's end our case statement, and let's give it an alias also as student name. And we also have to close the parentheses for the concat function. I think it looks good. Let's run it. So here we have the student names. Alice is the top performer, Bob is a top performer, Charlie is not, David is not, Eve is a top performer, and Frank is a top performer.